Beginning my student teaching semester, I had a million questions for my cooperating teacher. And one of the things I remember really being intrigued by was when she would talk about home visits, or she would say something about the student, and I would be like, how do you know that? And she'd be like, oh, well, during home visits. So I always knew that this school did that, but I didn't realize it's only Ware that does that. And I think it's great. Last night, I paired up with another kindergarten teacher, and I had a list of my students that were color-coded with the map of where they live on post, and she had her map, and we drove from house to house with a little bag of goodies. They don't know that they have been given me as a teacher, so I just have to say, I'm your kindergarten teacher. It's really great to meet you. But it really gives you a good look into the child's life if you can just see a peek through their front door.
I have currently just finished a lot of my to-do list, and my to-do list is still a mountain. It's really frustrating because I feel like I've done so much, but I still have a lot left to do. And I know that getting it done before my kids arrive for back to school night is going to be completely insane.
I'm excited to get the class list, to put name tags on the desks. As minimal as that sounds, there's a few finishing touches that I want to do in my room, and then next week I'm really going to try and hit it hard with lesson plans going and having my first 3 days nailed down, as well as, just different fun activities. So really organizing that and getting it all concrete.
Right now, we are all handling open house. We have tons of forms that all these parents have to sign. It's been crazy. We got flooded with children, but it was great. And I'm really excited now getting to meet a lot of my students. It's awesome to see who I'm going to be teaching for the next year. So all my students are here, they're ready. I just need to know if I am. I mean, look at this room. Does this room look like the room of somebody who's ready? Because no, it does not.
Tonight was open house, and I don't think any amount of preparation could have prepared me for this evening. I thought I was really well prepared, and I thought I was really organized, and then I had 20 families come in all at once and bombard me, and it was awesome, but it was also really terrifying at the same time. I also didn't realize how many parents kept their children off ADD and ADHD medicine over the summer, so I had a lot of rambunctious friends running around my classroom tonight, but that is okay, because we will talk about rules and procedures and make sure that everything will hopefully go a little bit smoother on the first day.
Well, it's the first day of school. It's about 6:35, and I am ready to take on some kids. Here we go. Here's my classroom. All ready to go with the agenda. Students brought their book bags in on Sunday. I'm feeling quite nervous. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to be a teacher. Here we go.
So today was the first day of school, and I am exhausted. We just really talked a lot about rules and procedures, but I tried to keep it light and fun, and we did some fun team building things. We came up with our own classroom handshake, and that was really entertaining to watch.
Well, day one is complete as a first-year teacher. It went a lot better than I expected. We did a lot of group activities with other sixth grade classes, so that was nice. I love my students and cannot express how much going over rules and procedures is going to take for these kids. Definitely have some strong readers in the group, lots of students that want to be here, but also some of those ornery boys that I'm going to have to figure out what to do with them. But I look forward to the challenge, and I'm going to go get some sleep. It's almost 9 o'clock, and I am needing some energy for tomorrow. So see you then.
Oh my gosh!
Today was really hard. My first day of teaching ever. And it's kindergarten, so it's not only my first time, but it's their first time ever coming to school. Sitting in your chair, that's foreign. Raising your hand, not a clue what that is. Not talking all the time. You can't just get up and leave. Who knew? And the joke of the morning was, if your first day of kindergarten, you don't lose anybody and nobody dies, you have a good day. And I almost freaking lost one. So I sent a little girl home on the bus that shouldn't have been on the bus. The bus was taking her to her home address that we have here on file. She doesn't live at the house that we have the address for. Her mom now lives with friends, and she's not supposed to ever go back to the house she lives at. And I sent her to that house because I put her on the bus. We found her, things are fine. But like things like that, that made the day worse than I felt like it already was, because I thought I lost a student. It is what it is, I guess. As I've like sat here thinking like, what could I have done better? I realized that there is no way I could have been prepared for what today was. Yeah, today was hard. My name is Becky Brady, and I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I have two parents, Pat and Terry, and then I have an older sister, Sarah, and then a younger brother, Steven. My dad runs our family business, Brady Nursery. Since my dad was always at work, we would just go to work with him, and we would occupy our time in the fields or on four-wheelers or good golf cart. But it was us tearing around in it most of the time. It's just been fun growing up, having this family business that I always had a job at, and my whole family was pretty much always here.
Becky has always been a real smiley child, even when she was a little baby, because she was always, happy and friendly to everybody, it seemed like.
In high school, part of the day, one semester, I went to 4th and 5th grade combined classroom where I was just a teacher aide, and that's kind of where I really got into it and really decided that I like this and I'm not horrible at it.
From the minute Becky came in my classroom, she was a natural. I felt like I'd known her whole life, even though I just met her, because she's just that personality that she interacted well with adults and the students.
I think that the real good teachers, the ones that I've had, the ones that Terry's had, the ones that, Becky's had, they're doing it because they have a passion to do it.
Becky could do anything she set her mind to do. I mean, she could be a doctor, she could be a lawyer, she could be an architect. She is so talented and so bright and so curious about everything. She could be anything she wanted to be.
Not a hot dog, my hot dog.
Well, I thought it was wonderful. Knowing Becky, I'm sure she's going to do well, because she's one of those people that's kind of full of joy. And when people meet her, I think they feel that.
Good afternoon. I survived my second day of teaching today. I always feel like these days can be a little boring, and you gotta spice it up for the kids because you can just see the deadness in their eyes. To liven things up a bit, I decided I was gonna put a little bit of a language arts spin on it, but we were gonna have a snowball fight. Their first instructions were to finish the exposition, and then after that, crumple up their paper. Woo. They loved it. It was so much fun. It just gets me really excited for this year. I really think that these students are gonna work hard for me, and I think that just maybe I might be able to make an impression on them.
Today went a lot better than yesterday did. It wasn't as rough, it wasn't as bumpy. I think I had a little bit more confidence, definitely more of a sore throat, but that's just from talking all the time. And I definitely had a proud teacher moment today when a kid challenged the rest of the class to be a different 5th grade class because they had previously been bullied and called babies and teased for being the younger kids, and she completely challenged the class to make sure that that was a difference and that was going to be a change, and instead of teasing them, to make sure that you'd be the role models that they need. I just had a lot of really awesome, humbling moments today, and I'm incredibly blessed that these kids are mine for the first year, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of kids to work with.
Hi there. So it is Sunday night right now. I have been up here working at school for just a little bit this evening and kind of just needed to get ready for the week coming up. I've had a lot of time to think over the weekend, and I think the first day of school is so rough that I didn't want to come back on Friday. It was still a hard day. I'm still reminding them that we can't just go home whenever we want, and if you have to say something, you have to raise your hand, and things that we don't think about what kindergartners don't know if they've never been to school before. So I just realized it's going to be a learning process for both of us, and I can't get frustrated at the end of the day if it didn't go how I wanted it to. Things are good. They're going to get better every single day, and they already have. So I'm excited for the rest of the week.
They are a handful. 27 bodies in my homeroom is a lot of hormones, a lot of body odor, but a lot of great personalities that I think are going to make a great school year. I know this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm tired, and I'm ready for tomorrow.
Early on in college, I thought maybe I should look at more diverse public schools. Maybe I should look at lower socioeconomic schools. It wasn't until I started applying that I felt more called to teach in a Catholic school. I've encountered a lot of stereotypes about what the Catholic school system is like. I think the kids are going to behave so much better than public school, and that is definitely not true either. Yes, we have high expectations of our students, but a child is a child, no matter where they go to school.
We have some of the same struggles, whether it's students and their needs, families and their needs, teachers and their needs. That we work hard to serve all students, and we serve all families. But what makes us different is how we infuse Catholic values into it. The values that we think are so important for our students to learn.
Another stereotype I would say is how awful the uniforms are. But I think it's great. I'm a firm believer of uniforms. And that also resonates back to we are all one.
Because we're a family. A family recognizes and understands, but still embraces the challenges that they have.
We come from a very, very tight-knit family. My brother and I were very close just because we both had interest in basketball and in sports. And then my sister, she's 2 years older than me, so we would do a lot of things together. My mom was actually a teacher. She taught high school math out in western Kansas and then in Bueller. My dad is a very hardworking man, and even when he would come home from a long day at work, he would ask us about our day. They really showed that they cared about each one of us. Whenever we were growing up, I'd always play school in my classroom.
You would go up to her bedroom and she would be teaching her pretend people and writing on the windows. And I would have to knock on the door. Then she would do, just a moment, please. So, well, maybe you could send your children to recess and you could come down. Just a moment, please.
I had a great band teacher in high school who not only taught us how to be better musicians, but also better people. He would always give 110% and never settle for mediocrity.
The first time I met Bridget was as an 8th grader at Prairie Hills Middle School. She always stuck out because of her work ethic. She was always surrounded by people because of that work ethic, and not only that, is that she's a huge people person. Whatever she thought that she lacked, she worked twice as hard than most kids. I always knew that she was going to go to greater things. I think the greatest compliment that I could ever give to Bridget is that I would trust her with my own children.
He was a great role model, and I really took, I think, a lot of his values of seeing, how much work ethic pays off in life, how much dedication and passion to the profession he had, and demonstrated that teachers play a significant role in every student's life.
I'll give you the light of the moon and a ship to sail across the ocean. Come join me soon. I'll be waiting and waiting, but don't make me wait too long. I'll give you the colors of the rainbow and every color in between. I'll give you it all. My number, my key, a house by the turning sea.
Today we are doing an awesome lesson where we're looking at culture quilts. I gave them a piece of paper, and on that they are going to put down pictures, quotes, words, drawings, anything that really represents their culture. And it's really awesome to see what some of the students have already come up with, even though they've only had about 20 minutes to work on it before encores. So if you look, you can see they've already started putting flags of their nationalities from where they were born. Got tons of stuff. Everybody's got markers left out. Got pictures of families being drawn. Over here, we got favorite foods. Somebody way in the back. They love their music, so they've got their phone. It's just really awesome to see all of the different types of families and backgrounds and interests that these students have. So I really wanted to touch on that and help them grow and learn to understand each other.
I love high-fiving the students every day they come in the door and every day that they leave for school. I think it's a great way to just be positive and be that positive face for them in the morning. Definitely chaotic once the bell rings. That's one thing I'm trying to learn, but like I said, being the positive reinforcement, that positive model for them has been crucial for me and super important, as well as making sure that they know my expectations and procedures. I gave a quiz today on my procedures, and I think some of them were terrified. I made sure to tell them that it's not going to be for a grade and just to do their best, but it's also a great way to help me understand what I need to continue going over with them and what they don't understand. The week has been going by super fast, and I can't believe tomorrow's already Thursday, and then before I know it's going to be the weekend and planning again for the next week. But I'm enjoying it. It's exhausting, but it's definitely a rewarding job, and I know this is where I'm supposed to be. So that's all for tonight from this first year teacher.
One of the things I struggle with a bit is classroom management and learning how I'm going to be an enforcer and not just a friend. That's why I have my desks broken into groups already, so I kind of have them separated a bit. I have like a few classroom management techniques set in stone. I just need to learn how to balance it to where I'm not just letting them be my friend, and I can take that next step. I am a little nervous about it, but I think it'll overall be okay this year.
Let me grab a calendar, okay?
It's hard to manage a class of 20 kids that have such strong personalities. I was a talker in school, and I have 20 of me. It's like payback. And that's what I tell parents too. I completely understand. No matter who they put me next to, I was that kid that was gonna have, the conversation with 20 other friends. And so I think that, just having that realness with the parents has helped me a lot.
My goal is to simplify my directions and my explanations to add clarity to everything. As a teacher, I would hope that in a month I have them ready to be able to move from their tables to the carpet, to where I just maybe have to say one word or sing one small song and have them be able to do their job and move around our classroom easily without having to go back to our seats and practice because they don't remember where they should go.
I'm loving my students, but they need practice on routines. They need more practice with classroom management. But keep in mind, these are 6th graders, so social is the number one right now.
Most new teachers, one of the biggest things they struggle with their first year's classroom management. If the management is a struggle for you, then it makes it really hard for you to get where you need to be with the content.
And so you can tell when you're in a classroom how well the teacher is able to manage their classroom.
New teachers are no different than first-year students in the classroom. They're trying to learn what's expected of me. And classroom management truly is one of the first things you have to get a hold of and you have to manage. And for some teachers, it's a hard concept.
The things I look for, do they have good transitions? Are kids engaged in the learning? Could they do something a little bit different to get more kids engaged?
We have a tremendous amount of procedures in place for how we approach our instruction and our classroom management. So we put our new teachers through a pretty grueling professional development process with just new teachers. And those things are in place to ensure that the playing field is level.
And then by second year, they figured out all the things they want to do better. So you see tremendous growth in a new teacher over the first year.
My brother and sister went to the Chapman School District, and so I grew up going to volleyball games and band performances and soccer games, and they're just so based around the children. And one thing that really shocked me was how willing our PTO was to help out the school. We don't have a laminator right now, and so PTO is actually buying a new laminator for us and gave each classroom teacher funds to buy things for their classroom. That was one thing that really shocked me because I never realized how much the community actually cares. The demographics of Chapman, most of it is rural country, and so 4-H is a very big presence here. They just had the 4-H fair last week. It's just big in the community, as well as the military. During my interview, I was told that a lot of military have chosen to retire here, and so we have a lot of military kids.
I think because of the military aspect, that's a unique challenge. How do you deal with kids that may be here 2 months and then gone again? And how do you invest your emotional self in those kids? You know, it's one thing to have a kid in and out, but do you make a connection with that child? And so that's a huge one for first-year teachers, trying to relate to those kids that are here and gone again.
I moved to Topeka when I was about 4 or 5. I started kindergarten.
She was always wanting to help others before herself. You could see it at a very young age that she was a helper. I think that growing up, that kind of lifestyle has made her the person that she is today.
It's tough being a single parent, raising children on your own and trying to make sure that they succeed in life. And I haven't given her everything, but I've given what I can with the means that I had. And she's great.
Mom worked a lot, so usually Renee took care of me.
I would always play teacher with my brother and, you know, make him sit there over the summer with my workbooks that were 2 grades above him. It's like, you have to learn these skills.
She kind of helped me see that I wanted to be a teacher.
In my family, I am the first one to attend a major 4-year university. My mom only had like a year or so of college, but things happen. And I'm not sure about my dad. I really didn't grow up with him, and so it was a goal for myself. The moment that I figured out I wanted to be a teacher, I was actually at a high school band competition, and I was in the parking lot, and my mom was like, you know, we're at K-State. What are you thinking that you're gonna do? Are you gonna come here? And I was like, you know, Mom, I think I really wanna teach music. And she was like, all right, let's make that happen. But then as time went on, I realized, you know, I think music's more of a passion, and I don't think I could do it every day of my life. And so I was like, I had the most fun in elementary, and I really, I felt like I found my niche.
As a mom, you want to see your children succeed and have a better life than what you've had. And so that's what I want for her, and, you know, doesn't have to struggle like I did.
There's definitely a period of days within the week that I'm not as prepared, or I realize, oh crud, I should have done that last night. But for the most part, I know what's going on. I know where I want these students to be at. During the summer, kind of made an outline of where I wanted the students to be at for each quarter, and that's been a great pacing guide to follow. But there's always something that comes up that I'm not really sure how to handle, or I wish I would have been more on top of. It's a lot of different factors that go into teaching other than just preparing a lesson plan. I would say that's probably 5% of it.
Something that I hope I will learn over the first year of teaching is really just gaining confidence in my teaching. That's something that I really hope to grow and foster in, is just, telling myself I can teach all these math skills and I can, help these kids succeed not only on their tests, but in life as well.
Right now you feel like sometimes you're like, oh my God, what am I doing up here? I don't know what I'm doing. And you'll think what's in my lesson plan? I'm getting better at shifting things around and not following a strict schedule, but then making sure I still get everything done. I feel more in control.
It feels like just yesterday I was starting, but then at the same time, I feel like I've been doing this now for a year. Now that I've gotten in that groove, I'm like, so this is what I can expect. And actually that's kind of just become my new challenge. I've made it this far. Now how do I keep fighting these battles?
Helping new teachers is all about making sure they succeed. And our staff takes that incredibly personal. It's our responsibility to make sure they're successful. If a new teacher is not successful in our building, it's not their failure. It's our failure to find what type of support they needed in order to be successful.
They've been very helpful, and when they asked me to come to them, I knew that they were just ready to help, and so I had a chance to explain the situation of I don't only have 1 or 2 kids that need a lot of help. I have a handful, and they were eager to listen and eager to help.
We have a lot of unofficial support systems in place for our new teachers. We make it look like it's just random, where it's actually pretty strategic. Who's going in, depending upon what type of modeling that new teacher needs, because every new teacher is different. All of their needs are different. So for some of them, I need to have somebody going in their room for support that's going to temper them, calm them down, get their anxiety down. For some of them, I need firmness. While everything, I think, looks to the student teacher to be pretty randomly selected, from the office perspective, it's all pretty strategic.
This quarter has flown by. There have been ups, there have been downs. There have been parent meetings that have gone really well. There have been parent meetings that I have left in tears on my way home, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do as a teacher. I don't feel qualified for this job. Definitely have felt that.
So Monday comes around, I've planned Sunday, I've gotten my stuff ready for my students to experience what I had planned, and it just didn't go well. It just didn't go well in every sense of the way.
I'm giving you one right now.
My students were clearly tired, everybody was just exhausted, and you could tell when it came to the lesson because the students did not grasp from it what I hoped they would. I left that day feeling very, very disheartened.
The self-doubt is something that it just creeps in. Even when you know you're doing the right thing, or in your heart you're doing the right thing. And I think that's why you really need to surround yourself with the positive people that can help bring you up, can help carry you through some of those hard times, and just keep reaffirming that this is really what you need to do. Teaching from textbooks, teaching on paper seems way easier than it is in practice, because when you look at here's the best way to do this lesson, you don't think necessarily of the personalities that can throw that lesson off. And having the ability to adapt and think on your feet is something that you have to learn. Just how you pick yourself up and carry on. That grit, that perseverance, man, it makes all the difference.
God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And I feel called to teach, and I know He will give me those skills that I need to teach effectively.
It will happen. just be prepared for it. I'm a new teacher. I'm gonna fail. But I have the rest of the year to show that that's not me, that that's just a mistake, and that was just one lesson.
Your first year is definitely a lot more stressful just because you're trying to figure out your routine, you're trying to figure out your schedule, you're trying to figure out this whole new curriculum.
I think having a mentor your first year teaching is so important because you need that outlet that they can feel comfortable talking to, somebody to get advice, somebody to laugh with, cry with.
This is my first year mentoring, so that's been fun too. It's an experience as well where there's things that I forget that I'm like, oh, I probably need to let Renee know about this. She probably has no clue about this, you know? So you almost get into the routine where you just know this is what you do at this time of the year and this is how you handle this situation. So some of those things, it's been interesting for me to reflect back on as a mentor and say, okay, remember you didn't know this before, you know, so.
I give her advice if she has any questions as far as teaching the content, any advice like on classroom management, random questions I guess she might have related to this particular school.
She's really good about coming in even before she wants to meet with parents. That's kind of something that I think a lot of new teachers are unsure about, how to handle that relationship between teacher-parent, and so sometimes she'll come to me and say, okay, so how should I approach this? Even just basic situations in the classroom that maybe she hasn't experienced, you know, just different things that she may not have thought about before.
Today during their encore classes, they talked about bullying. And that's something in the schools we always talk about. Every student hears it a million times, teachers hear it a million times, but today really opened my eyes that it can't be said enough. Today at lunch, a girl dropped something and another student called her the B word, called her fat, and then the student also continued to drop racial slurs throughout the rest of lunch. I had asked the students to write letters to me, and in the final paragraph, I told them that they could just share anything that they wanted to share with Mr. Oath. And one student wrote a paper and it was ripped at the bottom. Well, come to find out, there was a letter found in the auditorium, the original letter that he had written me. He had talked about some of his issues with depression and how lately he has had some suicidal thoughts. And this crushed me. That's something that I battled for so long in my life, and to hear this student tell me that they feel that way, he gave me the ripped up portion of his letter for me to read because he didn't want anybody to find it because his original letter had been found. Of course, parents were contacted immediately. I just hope that they aren't too hard on him because I've been there. And even though we know as adults that you don't need to feel that way, for that middle school child, he feels that way. Even though he wrote about it in a letter and it could just be a cry for help, why would I not respond with full action to that?
Hi, my name is Caleb Roth. I'm from Conway Springs, Kansas. We have a population of about 1,000. We are very religious and football is everything. My graduating class only had 40 kids and we were considered one of the biggest.
It seems the population here is deep rooted. My parents were here, my grandparents were here. You know, God forbid we leave the tracks, go out of town. I was so proud of my son that he wanted to leave the boundaries of this small town. I always say, go away. You can always come back. This will always be home, but spread your wings. But mainly here, it's people that put their roots here and don't leave.
I might not necessarily come back here myself in my future, but I would never trade my upbringing for anything. I had family on almost every block. I had friends in so many different houses. On any given weekend, I wasn't inside. I was walking down the street to so-and-so's house. I was, running up to the city park and playing with my friends. By the time I got to high school, I was an avid reader. I would go through a book in a day. I was meant to be a teacher. I was constantly taking care of kids, whether it be cousins or my own family. And so I've always had that nurturing mentality. And I actually had a language arts teacher that really, really opened my eyes to how awesome teaching as a profession can be. And it made a difference in my life to have her as my educator. And so I always used to joke that I was going to come back and take her classroom from her. I didn't necessarily fit in at school just because I wasn't like, a farmer. I wasn't somebody that loved to play sports. In this small town, that was something that was more valued.
Our journey together began early. I was, 18 when I had him and going to my first year of college. Everybody stereotypes me. Well, you're gonna be the teenage mom and, your oldest son's just gonna be, the next generation of welfare and I always thought, I hope that he follows in his determination and not living like everybody else does. And he did it, and he continues to prove to everybody that nothing will stop him. Nothing.
Fingers down on page 1. Let's read together, friends. Ready?
This week is kind of a wild one coming up. Our parent-teacher conferences and a field trip. And the most comical thing about it is that the field trip is to the Beach Art Museum on K-State's campus.
Are you excited for the field trip today, guys?
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
About painting art things.
Where are we going?
To the art museum.
I'm not sure what's there for kindergartners, let alone my kindergartners. So, wish us luck.
You see the stars shine brighter. You see the colors that burst into life.
We just left K-State. We went to the Beach Art Museum today for a field trip. Art museums are a challenge for 5-year-olds.
I have officially survived my first field trip as a 5th grade teacher, and I am 100% completely exhausted. I really liked it, but I didn't realize how stressful getting ready for a field trip would be. We had to leave our building by 8:15 and school starts at 8:05, and so it was crazy, but everything went fine. They came home, and the entire way home they couldn't stop talking unless they, were singing Wheels on the Bus as 5th graders.
And I highly recommend, if you ever get the chance to go on trips with your students, go anywhere outside of the classroom with your students, do it. Because then you become a real person to them. You are no longer just this figure that stands at the front of the classroom and yells at them. I didn't have to sit there and be like, hey, get to reading. Hey, stop talking. Put that fidget spinner away. You are seen as a human being. They get to see you interact. And those are the days, like yesterday, I got to just kind of hang out and be a normal person with them. And it was just awesome.
Where? In the corner? I don't see it. He's right there. Right there.
Our field trip to the Topeka Zoo, and my mother is joining us with the trip.
They're so big. They're so big, aren't they, Layla?
What we're going to do today is we are going to do the vocab game once again with our remaining words. They don't really tell you how to prepare for parent-teacher conferences. They don't really show you how to be prepared to tell parents that their child needs an IEP or their child needs to be tested. Parents 9 times out of 10 are in there to strictly talk about academics and what are my students' grades? How can they raise them? Even though it's the end of the quarter and it's hard to raise a grade, I found it very beneficial to just have a personal conversation with the parents. Don't see it as, these are the grades, this is how they need to fix them. You just need to go in there and be yourself and be personable. It means the world to parents if you as a teacher show that you know their child.
I thought a lot about how can I make this a good experience for the parents, because this, for a lot of them, is their first child, and so their first parent-teacher conference and their first school conference or anything like that. So I kept trying to tell myself that I have all these numbers and I have all these papers, but none of that really matters. It matters like all the good things I can tell them about their child. So one of the little things I did to try to make it enjoyable and keep me kind of on track, I wrote these little papers for each kid, and it said 3 glows and a grow. So 3 things that glow about their child that like are our favorite thing about them, and then 1 area where they could grow. I started conferences with that, so hoping to open up on a light note, and it seemed to be received very well, and then they can put it on their fridge or something. So I just decided it was better to emphasize the positive a whole lot more right now and kind of pick the biggest area of growth.
I personally loved it because it's a great way to make students take ownership of what they've been doing. So when the parent asks, well, why is all this work missing? The student can't be like, they just haven't graded it yet, or he didn't explain that. Instead, I'm sitting right there, I'm helping them through it, and my student has to be honest because I'm right there, and they know that if they're not honest, I'm going to be honest.
Tomorrow's Halloween. It's on a Monday. That means the entire day is gonna be insane. All the kindergarten teachers, we are dressed up as Mario Kart, and I am Luigi. Then after lunch, it's when it gets really fun. Have a Halloween party. Then we do a parade around the whole school of our costumes.
In honor of Halloween, I did up my door because why not have a little festivity in the classroom? Halloween is definitely crazy though. You have to be prepared for those sugar high students because the days leading up to it and the days after it are all just discombobulated and crazy because they are eating candy left and right. They're excited to go out and hang out with their friends and do all these fun things. That school is just not a focus. And that was when we saw quite a few behavior issues, but overall, it's done, we've survived, and there's not much that went too terribly wrong.
We had a Halloween party, and I was a little anxious to see how this party was going to be because I didn't know if they would still be excited to have a Halloween party or kind of think it was just childish. And they loved it. You know, with a party, I think you just have so much energy in your students, and it's so fun to see that side of them. You know, another piece of advice that I have for all teachers is to just really enjoy those parties with your students. And that is where good relationships are formed with your students. Because who doesn't like a party? You know, who doesn't like to do things outside of what you typically do at school?
Friends, we're acting right now like we never came to our circle.
Defiance and misbehavior in my class has become something that I'm used to, and I'm not flustered by it anymore. I'm still leaving school discouraged in some way or another. I kept saying, well, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, and every day in some way or another has just been harder.
They are not kidding when they say that you can get burnt out quickly because I'm feeling burnt out. At first I didn't know what was happening, and now I know that it's burnout. Be in OneNote right now.
Probably the roughest week that I've had teaching thus far regarding students as well as parents, and it just put a lot of pressure on me. Just those little things that you know, don't think about until they happen. Just a lot of different parent emails that kind of made me second guess how I was teaching, second guess my grade book, second guess the material that I'm covering and what I'm doing in the classroom.
I'm trying to remain positive about it. I'm giving so much of myself. Like, I'm giving every ounce I can to the point where I'm just exhausted. I'm trying to keep the energy and I'm trying to keep positive, but so much negative is going on right now. Not only just in my life here at school, but in life in general. And it just seems that every turn, there's just more reason for me to like not even bother.
I kind of feel like I'm in that point where nothing that I'm gonna do is gonna be good enough, but I know that that's not true. I mean, I'm the first person to admit that I'm struggling with classroom management and that it'll be a struggle all year long, and there's way more to teaching than just getting up there and teaching the content. And sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes I'm just kind of like, why did I choose to be a teacher? And then I look at those kids and I remember these kids are why I'm here, and that these kids deserve the very best version of me every single day. It may be hard, and it may be really hard some days, and there's some days that you might just not even want to get out of bed, but on the other hand, you know, they're worth it. And I wouldn't have picked another job if I could.
To those people, you know, when you have those rough weeks, to never forget why you're doing this. And to never forget why you teach.
I hope I'm good at survival mode, because I think it's gonna become a new normal.
So 2 weekends ago, I was able to go down to Dallas-Fort Worth area, kind of just get away for the weekend. So my boyfriend and I went down and saw my sister and her fiance and just spent the entire weekend with them. It was really cool to just be away from school and be away from lesson planning, being away from grading, and take that time and just hang out. We went kayaking, we went downtown Dallas one night and just had a good time together. So it was really fun to just kind of catch up on some me time and spend some time with my boyfriend, spend some time with my sister.
You graduate college and you're like, I got this, I can do this. Student teaching was a breeze. How hard can this really be? But when you're the one that's making the 1,000 decisions a day, it can get really overwhelming very quickly. And having an outlet is so important, whether it's binge watching Netflix or going to the gym. Just having that 1 hour to myself where it's just me, my music, the weights, running, whatever I choose to do, it has been such a relief for me, because that's my hour of the day. That's the day that I can focus on me.
Do something that you're paying for or that you've signed up for, that you're committed to. I think that for just your mental sanity and your break, you need that. Whether it's going to dinner, whether it's doing something socially, do something for yourself that you enjoy. Little things like that for yourself will really help your sanity.
Always keep snacks in the classroom. Today I was walking around feeling like I was going to throw up because I was so hungry. So already started eating my trash. I've got my coffee open, I've got my water open, and I always have a drawer full of snacks for the students and for myself.
I introduced what I like to call as Santa mail, sent from the North Pole, and I had it in the freezer. So when I got it out, I was like, oh, this envelope is all cold, and why is it so cold? Oh, it says it's from the North Pole. Do you guys know what that is? In addition to the day that the Santa mail came, I wrapped up this little dude. We talked about what his name was and why he was here, and that the elf was gonna probably watch us from Thanksgiving to Christmas to make sure that we're on the nice list, and we had a big talk about the nice list and that I could call Santa whenever I needed, but this little guy will go home at the end of every week and fly home and tell Santa what was happening. It says, "Dear Miss Brady and friends, my elf's name is Zippy. He sees everything, so remember to always stay on the nice list. Love, Santa." Then I talked about how Santa put a Santa cam in, which is actually the smoke detector, and they loved it.
That's for me. Oh my god,
So finished out my first semester, really awesome. It was long, it was hard, it was grueling, but you know, I survived. Hey, what else can I ask for? I let them draw on my board, I let them play board games. It was just really nice to kind of let them just be kids for a little bit.
A lot of goofies. The day of our Christmas party, all the kids signed up for a different thing to bring. This little boy, he comes in the morning and he's all discombobulated, like, I have something in my backpack for you, Miss Brady. What is going on? So he hands me 2 store-bought packages, chocolate chip cookies. So I just kind of open it. He's taken a bite out of every cookie in both boxes. I brought him over and I'm like, come here. So I was just looking at these cookies that you brought. And did you by chance look at them before you brought them? No. There's a bite taken out of every cookie. Do you have an elf at your house? No. Did you take a bite out of each cookie? That just like made me laugh.
First day of break, and we already have a white Christmas, so I'm not complaining, that's for sure. I've been drinking coffee all day. I even got my Teacher's Rule coffee mug.
What are you doing?
Making some more cookies.
Cookie Monster. Oh yes, Graham, that's a gift from the kindergartners.
Thank you.
Or it can also be a car freshener. I did a lot of laying around. I slept until like 10 o'clock every day, which I didn't think was gonna happen, but it's just kind of weird how like my anxiety level was so chill for break, and I really truly forgot about life at school, and then coming back just like hit me like a train.
Week 1 after Christmas break is in the books. We just started right in with adjectives and I taught some writing, but one of my things over break that I just kept dwelling on was how can I help these kids be more responsible? Some of them can't turn anything in and they struggle to just know what they're supposed to do for the next day. And so for this quarter, I really want to try and focusing on taking ownership, being a leader, those life skills that they're gonna need way past 6th grade.
What is that?
A sun.
It's been a pretty good start. The kids still raise their hands. I am enjoying teaching, like math, loving it the past few days because it's hard.
This is
ding, ding, ding! We have a winner! So now it's kind of like higher level thinking, and I'm enjoying it a little bit more.
So how does the freedom of choice or lack of freedom of choice affect the quality of life? It's back to school time. We are officially back in session. I'm still struggling a little bit with falling back into that routine, but it's been going pretty well so far, no complaints. In fact, everything kind of seems almost a little too good. My students have come in well prepared and they've kind of got right back into the swing of things. Haven't really seen any behavior issues yet. I mean, it is still early on. I would hope we're not going to see anything too crazy during these first few days.
Hi, my name is Skylar Ross. I'm from Linwood, Kansas, and I am a first-year teacher. So my teaching experience is a little bit different from the normal teaching experience. I started in early January. I got hired from the Shawnee Mission School District to take the place of a teacher that was just switching positions within the building. And so instead of starting in August and having them all year, I started midway with them having one teacher for 3 or 4 months and then having me for the rest.
And that was definitely another challenge coming in the middle of the year. The teacher before him had already kind of taught these students a specific way, so he was bound determined. He goes, I'm gonna somehow make this work.
So growing up in Linwood was like living in the typical American small town. Everything else always seemed more interesting to do if it wasn't in town.
It's changed over the years. It used to have livery stables, banks, hotels. It was quite an active town many years ago for the railroad. Skylar is the youngest of 4. He was the toughest, the most independent, always on his own.
He was very athletic, and then in high school he enjoyed football. He took to sports like duck to water.
All the way up from elementary school playing soccer, into middle school starting to play football, and then on to high school doing every sport I could. When I was 18 years old, I was playing a football game against Perry-LeCompton, and it was towards the end of our season, and circumstances happened, and I ended up getting a concussion. I first got hit the second quarter, and didn't really think anything of it. Went out for the second half of the game, and I got hit again really, really hard, even harder than the first time.
2 weeks of that school year he doesn't even remember. And he was driving to school scary enough those days.
Got my concussion about October, and it continued on through November and December. I had a teacher, he started talking to me and he's like, hey, is everything okay? I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And then he kind of saw through that and he said, what's going on? I told him that I really can't remember anything. Short-term memory is just, it was not there. He sat with me for 45 minutes every day after class and said, all right, what do you need help with? After I started working with him in math, then everything else started happening a little bit better. My memory came back. He's one of the main reasons why I want to become a teacher.
It doesn't surprise me he became a teacher. But just to have always had the ability to see when someone needs something, he's pretty willing to think of them first.
I think something we forget a lot of times as adults and just kind of overlook is that these children are people. They have thoughts of their own. That's the whole point of them going to school. They see things and they can figure things out.
You know, diversity, it's all over our country, and it's great to welcome that into the classroom. And so I look forward to being able to really individualize everything for my students. I can't just do the same old lesson every single day. You have to make it your own. You have to take the curriculum and your resources and really cater it to your students, and it's a challenge.
You do it the way you know, and you may get, out of 26, you may get 18 of them on board and they understand it. But then you still have 8 that are like, well, I don't know. And so that's when you have to start digging into your memory bank and thinking, all right, how is another way I can explain this? Really being able to say, all right, well, I did get it this way, and most of my class does, but I still need to make sure that these other ones have a chance to do it as well.
You know, I gained a student and she was taught a completely different way than how we were teaching it on the test, and so it was just kind of like that frustration of, hey, you've got to learn this way.
Differentiation is so important. You have to think intentionally about every single one that you do, and you have to write it down and document it, and I'm modifying things all the time. After a little bit of practice, those challenges and struggle kind of becomes a little more second nature for you. What did you name him?
Lucky.
What?
Lucky.
Lucky the dog?
Lucky the
Shamrock Man.
Shamrock Man.
Lucky the Shamrock Man. You ready to go hang him in the hallway for St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
Yep. What did you name yours?
Chasey Patrick.
Chasey. Chase from Paw Patrol?
Patrick.
Chasey Patrick. Are you ready to put your little guy together? Okay, let's see. How's he gonna fit? Today I experienced something kind of hard. I guess one of those things that just working here on a military installation that provides challenges that you can't really always predict. One of my little guys who's been probably the most bold character personality here in the class. He's been my reason I have headaches, the reason the principals have headaches. He's just come so far, still behavior problems, but I learned to just love the heck out of him. And we got word that his family was moving. They were clearing from Fort Riley, meaning they would no longer be active in the military and getting out as soon as possible. His birthday is tomorrow, actually, and his mom said I'd like to have a party for him on Wednesday. He didn't come Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and I have so much of his snack and pens and pencils and paper and folders, and not that that's closure, but I get to say bye to them, and I get to say I'm so proud of you and I'm gonna miss you and our class isn't gonna be the same. And I kind of thought maybe he'd show up today, and then when I went to do my attendance, he wasn't even on my roster. He's not here anymore. And that just sucks. Like, they don't tell you that sometimes your kids just won't show back up, and that's hard.
I guess I've kind of just come to the point that, no matter what happens in my day, they're my group of kids, and I, enjoy them and care for them. And I had a kid move away, and so he had a postcard that he wanted to take with him, and it was like a picture of Dobby, and so I wrote our address on it, and he actually wrote back to us and talked about his new school and gave us his address, and so we're gonna start pen paling with him. And so really just making sure he's still involved in our, Irish family. And sorry, it just knife in the chest, but that was kind of a hard thing too, losing your first kid. So. And then I had another student, her dad just deployed, and so she was a wreck for about a week, coming to school crying every day, and mom pulled her out for 3 days. And I totally get that, and just being really supportive of, everybody in their time of needs. When everybody has a time of need, it kind of just puts this unexpected strain on, especially when it all happens at once.
It is rapid fire, Taylor. We also got a new student this week, which was terrifying. And we had introduced her to everybody introduced to her. She was very, very quiet. I didn't know what to do for a new student. I was really worried that I didn't do what I needed to the first day. But as we were dismissing, she went to the office to go home, and as I was walking to the office, she sprinted down the hallway and gave me a huge hug and said how excited she was to be in my class and just how excited she was about the entire school year. It kind of melted my heart a little bit. I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be fun.
I'll give you the light of the moon and a ship to sail across the ocean. Come join me soon, I'll be waiting and waiting, but don't make me wait too long. I'll give you the colors of the rainbow and every color in between. I'll give you it all, my number, my key, a house by the churning sea.
It is second semester here, and we are actually in our second 6 weeks already. Things are just flying by, and it's just been a really actually awesome ride this second semester. It's been crazy, the night and day difference I feel between last semester and this semester, and part of it might be that the end is in sight, so I feel more relaxed. It could be that I've got a few better things going for me, not so many family members sick, those type things. But honestly, it is so much of just getting used to the trade and used to the battles and used to the flow of teaching. I now can say surviving my first semester here that you are going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to feel like every day's a battle and struggling with all these different things. And I can honestly say that already this second semester, I have found a renewed passion and so much joy within my students. It has truly been a great semester, even with its struggles.
Got an email from a parent this morning wanting to talk. That's a terrifying thing. I was hoping it was going to be like a 15-20 minute meeting, and she just left about 10 minutes ago. So a 15-20 minute conversation turned into a 2.5 hour conversation about what her daughter thought of me, and just overall how I could help the situation that was happening. And we got it handled. But this parent said, you know, I've talked to other parents and we're really happy with the way you're doing stuff. And I've had quite a few parents shoot me emails and say, hey, Mr. Ross, you're doing an awesome job. And as teachers, you just kind of soak it up and eat it up. And sometimes it runs off your back and you don't worry about it. You don't say anything about it. It doesn't ever affect you. And then sometimes you're like, man, I needed that. I'm so glad you said that.
Is anger to the round?
The parents play such a major role in how kids are treated and handled and what they come to school like and how they perceive learning. I've got parents that are, you know, whatever you need, I will be there for you, and I'm gonna, you know, help you out in the classroom and donate when I can, to you're a first year teacher, you don't know what you're doing, to here's all of the drama in my life.
I've also had conversations with parents that went very, very, very bad, to the point where they were crying on the phone while talking to me because I didn't understand how unique and special their child was. And I found it very hard for myself to stay calm. Like, I was like, okay, Caleb, you gotta make sure you're not overreacting, make sure you're not instigating or pushing things further. Luckily, I worked in retail for a long time, so I'm very used to that angry customer type. You just have to be prepared to deal with those parents that aren't happy with their item. They are not happy with what's going on, and they are not afraid to let their voices be heard.
Each week I'm just looking for a student to kind of like stand out and go the extra mile, or maybe it's something as simple as your son held the door for me when he very easily could have just kept walking on. Making that known to parents, I find, has been really important. It's also been really interesting to see how parents are responding to getting a phone call from their student's homeroom teacher. One mom in particular just sounded so panicked on the phone when I was speaking with her about her son or daughter. And I just said, you know, oftentimes you don't hear the positive things from a teacher. Once those parents feel like they have a connection with the teacher, that the teacher knows their son or daughter, that makes a huge difference just in the interactions that I've had with the parents.
Morning. So it's the last day of school. I realized it's the last time I'll probably ever go through that gate because I don't think I'll ever find myself back on Fort Riley. Just kind of sad, and I kind of got annoyed earlier because I don't really do emotions very often, and I already had these dumb goosebumps, and I know that I'm gonna have them all day long because it's gonna be a day full of feels, and so I'm just gonna keep my sunglasses on all day.
We have made it. It is over. The year is up. I cannot believe I survived. I am exhausted. I feel a million years older, but my heart is also very full. It's been a really hard day saying goodbye. I handed out the letters to students. I also pulled them to the side and told them each individually kind of just why I appreciated having them in class and how I'm gonna miss them. Like here, I've got pages after pages that people have colored me. You can see some writing up here. A bunch of them wrote things on the back, so that way they could just give little notes to me. I told them I'm hanging all of these on my fridge and I want to be able to remember them. Somebody even took the time to paint me a picture. This is awesome. They took so much time to make this and they made it for me. It was just a really good reminder that my students appreciated me, and it just goes to show that teaching is a very intrinsic job. You have to remember that you are changing these children's lives. I've had so many students say that I was the only positive thing in their day. And I even had one student flat out say, Mr. Oath, whatever you do, I hope you teach middle school, because your positivity, kids need that.
Those kids mean so much more to me than they will ever know, and I will miss them so much. You go through all of the up and downs that are being a first-year teacher. You'll figure it out then. If you go in with that attitude that you're better than everyone else, you're not going to make it very far. And if you're not willing to accept feedback, you're not going to make it very far. And if you're not a professional, you're not going to make it very far.
I'll add this into the things nobody tells you. The only true power that I have in the world is my reaction to things. I have the power to plan any lesson I want. Yeah, great. But when things happen to you, or when you need to make things happen in your life, sometimes you forget that your reaction to good and the bad is very important, because it sets a precedent for what's going to happen next. Having a calm demeanor, sometimes saying less, is the most important thing. And taking the high road is something that I've learned is so valuable.
There are so many times where you can truly doubt yourself as a teacher. You're looking around at all these other teachers, you're like, well, they've been teaching for so much longer. Wow, how they do this, that's probably the best way to do it. But just like everybody on this earth is different and has different ways of doing things, so do us as teachers. We cannot have every single classroom be the exact same. How are we going to need to meet students where they're at if we're like that?
We made it through here. A few times I didn't know if I would, but we made it through. I've only been here since January, and so I didn't really think I made that much of an impression on my kids. I thought they hated me sometimes because I'm kind of strict. I had one student in particular that he was really struggling with his anger, and I'd given him just a note card, and it had 8 things to calm you down. And yesterday at graduation, the first thing he said to me is, Mr. Ross, I still have the piece of paper and I use it all the time. It's something that I just thought off the top of my head, hey, this might help him, and in reality it actually did. And I was like, wow, that's something else. If there's anything I could leave to future teachers, it's that don't be afraid to fail, because you will. You're not perfect. You're gonna mess up a lot. And that's okay.
I think I just now finally realized what this is all about. If I didn't do what I do, the world couldn't do what it does. And I have the most important job in the world. And I think I just now realized the importance of my profession. It's something that it's really hard, but I'd rather have it be really hard and know that I am actually making a ripple effect for ages. This is the gift to be able to say that I'm a teacher.
Fade and it was gone. Oh, will you fill my heart at last until it bursts and holy waters crush this thirst? March no more out on the shore. Let it rush and let it pour. Winter dressed in gray, and I cannot see to May. I've drank long and I keep carrying on, but the fight in me is gone. Oh, will you fill my heart at last until it bursts so holy?